It was a day like any other on Earth. The sun rose lazily over the horizon, painting the skies with hues of orange and pink. People woke up to the sound of alarms, brewed their morning coffee, and headed out into the world. Some went to work. Some stayed home, and others wandered the streets looking for adventure, or simply trying to make ends meet. Life moved forward as it always did, routine, predictable, ordinary. But then, at precisely 10:47 a.m. Universal Time, something extraordinary happened. A low rumble began deep within the atmosphere, so faint that most people dismissed it as thunder or a distant earthquake. But the noise grew louder, more intense, until it became a deafening roar that shook the ground beneath everyone's feet. Windows rattled, buildings trembled, and birds scattered from trees in panic. It felt as though the very fabric of reality was tearing apart, and then they saw it. The sky above them split open. At first, no one could believe what they were seeing. Great fissures appeared in the heavens, glowing with an eerie light that seemed neither natural nor human-made. These cracks widened rapidly, revealing something beyond comprehension. From the void emerged massive structures, ships so large that they dwarfed entire cities. They hovered silently above the planet, casting ominous shadows across continents. Each vessel was sleek and metallic, bristling with weapons and adorned with strange symbols that pulsed faintly with energy. Fear gripped humanity almost instantly. Social media erupted with videos and photos of the phenomenon, accompanied by frantic commentary. "Is this real?" someone tweeted. "End of the world?" another asked. News outlets scrambled to report live updates. But even seasoned journalists struggled to find words for what was happening. Governments around the globe convened emergency meetings, while militaries prepared for potential conflict. Yet amidst all the chaos, there was also awe. Humanity had long wondered if alien life existed, and now here was proof. The aliens wasted no time making their intentions clear. A broadcast echoed across every device capable of receiving signals: televisions, radios, smartphones, all tuned to the same frequency. The message came in multiple languages, translated perfectly thanks to advanced technology far beyond anything humans possessed. "This planet is now under our control," the voice declared coldly. "Resistance will result in total annihilation." Most people froze in terror, unsure how to respond. How could humanity possibly fight back against such overwhelming power? Their weapons looked like toys compared to the towering star destroyers looming overhead. And yet not everyone gave in to despair. Among those who refused to surrender was Marcus Kane, a retired astronaut turned conspiracy theorist. For years he had warned anyone willing to listen about the possibility of extraterrestrial invasion. Back then, his warnings earned him ridicule, rather than respect. Now, however, his theories were vindicated in the worst possible way. Marcus wasn't just sitting idly by. He sprang into action immediately. He knew that panicking wouldn't save humanity, but preparation might. Within hours, he contacted former colleagues from NASA, military personnel, and independent scientists, urging them to collaborate on a plan. His makeshift team worked tirelessly, analyzing data, studying the invaders' movements, and brainstorming strategies. Though resources were limited, determination ran high. If humanity stood any chance of survival, it would need leaders like Marcus to guide them through the storm. As days passed, the aliens began demonstrating their dominance. Cities were targeted indiscriminately, reduced to rubble with devastating precision. Lasers fired from the star destroyers obliterated landmarks, infrastructure, and countless lives. Survivors fled in droves, seeking refuge wherever they could find it. Entire populations were displaced, forced to abandon their homes and everything they held dear. The scale of destruction was unimaginable, leaving scars that would take generations to heal. Yet amidst the devastation, something remarkable began to emerge. Humanity's resilience shone brighter than ever before. Neighbors helped neighbors, strangers banded together, and communities formed despite the chaos. People dug bunkers, rationed supplies, and shared whatever little they had left. Even children contributed, using their creativity to come up with innovative ways to survive. One group of teenagers hacked into old satellite dishes to intercept alien communications, providing valuable intel to resistance fighters. Another family repurposed abandoned cars into makeshift shelters, protecting dozens of displaced individuals. What surprised the invaders most, however, was humanity's refusal to cower in fear. Instead of hiding, many chose to fight back, armed, with whatever weapons they could scavenge. Guns, knives, even farming tools. They launched guerrilla attacks against smaller alien patrols. While these efforts were often futile, they served as a powerful statement. Humanity would not go down without a fight. Back in his makeshift command center, Marcus studied maps and blueprints, searching for weaknesses in the alien fleet. He knew brute force alone wouldn't be enough. They needed strategy. Inspiration struck when he remembered reading about ancient battles where outnumbered armies triumphed through clever tactics. Why couldn't humanity do the same? He proposed a daring plan. Instead of targeting the largest ships directly, they would focus on disrupting the invaders' communication network. Without coordination, the fleet would crumble like a house of cards. To achieve this, they needed hackers, engineers, and pilots willing to risk everything for the cause. Volunteers poured in from all corners of the globe, united by a shared purpose. Meanwhile, ordinary citizens continued to play vital roles in the resistance. Farmers hid survivors in underground silos, teachers educated children on survival skills, and doctors treated the wounded in makeshift clinics. Artists painted murals depicting hope and defiance, reminding everyone why they fought. Even musicians composed songs that inspired courage and unity. Humanity was proving itself to be far more than the sum of its parts. Above all, the invaders underestimated one crucial aspect of human nature: adaptability. Humans had spent centuries evolving, overcoming challenges and thriving in environments hostile to life itself. This ability to adapt quickly became their greatest strength. When traditional weapons failed, they improvised. When conventional strategies faltered, they innovated. Every setback only fueled their determination to succeed. By the end of the UN first week, the tide began to shift ever so slightly. Small victories gave rise to larger ones, bolstering morale and reigniting hope. The aliens, once confident in their superiority, started showing signs of unease. Their attacks grew less frequent, their movements more cautious. For the first time since their arrival, doubt crept into their ranks. Humanity still faced immense challenges ahead. The road to victory would be long and fraught with peril. But one thing was certain: the invaders had made a grave mistake by underestimating Earth. What they thought would be an easy conquest had turned into a battle unlike any they'd ever fought. And though the outcome remained uncertain, humanity was ready to prove that it was more than capable of standing tall, even against the stars themselves. As the first week of the alien invasion drew to a close, humanity found itself in an unimaginable position. Cities lay in ruins, millions had perished, and the invaders' superior technology seemed unstoppable. Yet, amidst the chaos, something extraordinary began to take shape. Humanity's hidden strengths were surfacing, revealing a resilience that no one, not even the aliens, had anticipated. The invaders operated with precision and efficiency, their ships capable of obliterating entire regions with a single blast. Their weapons were advanced beyond anything humans had ever seen, and their coordination was flawless. But what they lacked, and what humanity possessed in abundance, was adaptability. Humans weren't bound by rigid protocols or predictable patterns. Instead, they thrived on creativity, resourcefulness, and sheer determination. Marcus Kane, now widely regarded as the face of humanity's resistance, worked tirelessly to unite people from all walks of life. His makeshift headquarters, located in a fortified underground bunker, buzzed with activity. Scientists, engineers, soldiers, and civilians poured in, each bringing unique skills to the table. Marcus understood that defeating the aliens wouldn't be about brute force. It would require outsmarting them. "They're machines," he often said during strategy meetings, "and machines can be broken." One of the most critical breakthroughs came from Elena Vasquez, a young astrophysicist who had been working on satellite technology before the invasion. She noticed something peculiar while analyzing intercepted alien communications. Their ships relied on a shared energy grid. This meant that if one ship was disabled, others connected to it could also collapse. It was a vulnerability that could turn the tide of the battle, but exploiting it wouldn't be easy. Elena's discovery sparked a flurry of activity. Engineers worked around the clock to design EMP, electromagnetic pulse devices capable of disrupting the aliens' energy systems. Meanwhile, hackers collaborated with gamers to create holographic decoys that mimicked human targets, confusing the invaders' sensors. These holograms were so convincing that entire fleets chased illusions across the skies, wasting precious time and resources. On the ground, ordinary citizens played equally vital roles. Farmers like James Carter converted their fields into safe zones, hiding refugees in underground bunkers and sharing food supplies. Teachers like Maria Lopez organized makeshift schools and shelters, ensuring children continued learning despite the chaos. Even artists joined the fight, using their talents to inspire hope. Graffiti murals depicting scenes of defiance sprang up on crumbling walls, reminding everyone that humanity still stood tall. But perhaps the most surprising contributions came from unexpected places. Gamers, long dismissed as idle hobbyists, proved invaluable in simulating alien attack patterns and devising counter-strategies. Their expertise in virtual combat translated seamlessly into real-world tactics. One gamer, a teenager named Alex Chen, developed a program that allowed resistance fighters to predict enemy movements based on past behavior. His algorithm saved countless lives during skirmishes. The resistance also benefited from humanity's ability to improvise under pressure. When traditional weapons failed, people turned to unconventional methods. In one instance, a group of fishermen repurposed their boats into mobile artillery platforms, launching surprise attacks on alien patrols near coastal areas. In another, a mechanic named Sarah Bennett modified old cars to serve as armored vehicles, equipping them with scavenged alien tech. Despite these efforts, the aliens remained formidable opponents. They responded to every setback with increased aggression, deploying new weapons and strategies that tested humanity's resolve. Entire towns were obliterated in retaliation for successful guerrilla strikes, and survivors were left to pick up the pieces. Yet even in the face of such devastation, humanity refused to give up. A turning point came when Marcus led a daring raid on an alien outpost located in the Nevada desert. Intelligence reports suggested the facility housed key components of the invaders' communication network. If destroyed, it could cripple their ability to coordinate attacks. The mission was risky, nearly suicidal, but Marcus knew it had to be done. The team consisted of volunteers from diverse backgrounds, ex-soldiers, scientists, and even a few teenagers eager to prove themselves. Armed with improvised weapons and EMP devices, they infiltrated the heavily guarded compound under cover of darkness. The operation was fraught with tension, every step fraught with danger. At one point, a security drone detected their presence, forcing them to engage in a fierce firefight. Despite heavy losses, the team pressed on, driven by the knowledge that failure wasn't an option. Inside the facility, they discovered horrors beyond imagination. Rows of tanks contained grotesque experiments, humans subjected to alien modifications, their bodies twisted and deformed. Logs revealed plans to enslave Earth's population, reducing humanity to nothing more than tools for the invaders' expansion. The sight filled the team with rage, fueling their determination to succeed. After planting explosives at the heart of the facility, the team made a desperate escape. Behind them, the building erupted in flames, sending shockwaves through the surrounding area. The explosion disrupted the aliens' communication grid, causing temporary confusion among their forces. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity gained a significant advantage. News of the raid spread quickly, inspiring others to take action. Resistance cells sprang up across the globe, each adopting similar tactics to harass the invaders. Small teams launched hit-and-run attacks, targeting supply lines and isolated patrols. Drones equipped with EMPs crippled alien tech, rendering their weapons useless. Every victory, no matter how small, boosted morale and demonstrated that humanity was far from defeated. Even as battles raged on, moments of humanity shone through the darkness. In bombed-out cities, strangers shared meals and blankets, forming bonds that transcended language and culture. Musicians played haunting melodies on damaged instruments, offering solace to weary souls. Stories of heroism spread like wildfire, reminding everyone that courage came in many forms. One such story involved a young girl named Lily Thompson, who lived in a war-torn neighborhood. When her community ran out of clean water, Lily ventured into dangerous territory to retrieve supplies. Along the way, she encountered an injured alien soldier, a scout separated from his unit. Despite her fear, she offered him water and bandaged his wounds. Her act of kindness stunned the alien, who later abandoned his post and sought refuge with humans. Though isolated incidents like this were rare, they hinted at the possibility of redemption, even for those who had caused so much suffering. As weeks turned into months, humanity's resistance grew stronger. The aliens, once confident in their dominance, began to show signs of strain. Their attacks became less frequent, their movements more cautious. Morale among their ranks plummeted as they realized they had underestimated their opponents. What they thought would be a swift conquest had turned into a protracted struggle against an indomitable foe. Back in his bunker, Marcus reflected on the journey so far. Humanity had endured unimaginable hardships, yet it had emerged stronger and more united than ever before. The invaders had brought destruction, but they had also awakened something deep within the human spirit, a refusal to bow to despair. "We are more than survivors," Marcus told his team during a briefing. "We are creators, dreamers, fighters, and together we will reclaim our planet." Though the war was far from over, one truth became undeniable. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't its technology or its numbers. It was its ability to adapt, innovate, and persevere. Against all odds, Earth's defenders were proving that even the smallest spark of hope could ignite a fire capable of driving back the darkness. The resistance had been gaining momentum, but the cost of defiance was becoming unbearable. Every victory came at a steep price: lives lost, cities destroyed, and hope stretched thin like fraying threads. Humanity's resilience was undeniable. Yet there were moments when even the strongest began to falter. The aliens, sensing cracks in humanity's resolve, unleashed their most devastating weapon yet, a massive beam capable of vaporizing entire regions in an instant. It happened without warning. One moment, the skies above Chicago were clear. The next, a blinding flash illuminated the horizon. The beam struck with terrifying precision, reducing skyscrapers to dust and wiping out millions in seconds. The shockwave rippled outward, shattering windows miles away and sending survivors fleeing in terror. Similar attacks followed across the globe. Tokyo, London, Sydney, all fell victim to the merciless onslaught. Entire populations disappeared in the blink of an eye, leaving behind only smoldering craters where once thriving cities stood. Despair spread like wildfire. For the first time since the invasion began, doubts crept into the hearts of even the bravest fighters. Was it worth continuing the fight? Could humanity truly prevail against such overwhelming power? Social media, which had served as a beacon of hope during the early days of resistance, now overflowed with cries of anguish. "What's the point?" one user wrote. "They're just going to kill us all anyway." Others echoed similar sentiments, their spirits crushed by the sheer scale of destruction. Amidst this growing sense of hopelessness, Marcus Kane stepped forward to remind humanity why they fought. Standing amidst the ruins of New York City, a place that had become a symbol of both devastation and defiance, he delivered a speech that would echo through history. His voice, amplified by portable speakers, carried over the rubble-strewn streets where survivors gathered to listen. "We've faced extinction before," Marcus began, his tone steady despite the weight of grief etched on his face. "Diseases, wars, natural disasters. We've stared down death countless times, and every single time, we've risen stronger. Why? Because we refuse to let fear define us. Because we choose to care. For each other, for our planet, and yes, even for those who might not deserve it. His words struck a chord deep within the crowd. Tears streamed down faces, but alongside the sorrow was a flicker of determination. Marcus didn't shy away from acknowledging the pain they felt. Instead, he embraced it, turning it into fuel for the fire burning inside them. "They think they've broken us," he continued, his voice rising with conviction. "But they don't understand what makes us human. We are dreamers, builders, fighters. And today, we fight not just for ourselves, but for everyone who came before us and everyone who will come after." The speech reignited a spark within humanity. People returned to their tasks with renewed vigor, knowing that giving up wasn't an option. If they were going to fall, they would do so fighting, not cowering in fear. This shift in mindset became the catalyst for what would later be known as the turning point. Meanwhile, scientists and engineers worked feverishly to counter the alien beam weapon. Elena Vasquez, whose earlier discovery of the shared energy grid had already proven invaluable, led the effort to analyze the technology behind the devastating attacks. Using data collected from intercepted transmissions and fragments of alien tech scavenged from battlefields, her team pieced together how the beam operated. What they found was alarming. The weapon drew immense amounts of energy from the invaders' central command ship, a colossal vessel larger than any other in the fleet. Without this ship, the beam couldn't function. Marcus saw an opportunity. If they could disable the central command ship, not only would they neutralize the beam weapon, but they might also cripple the entire alien operation. It was a risky plan, suicidal, some argued, but Marcus believed it was their best chance. He assembled a team of volunteers, each chosen for their unique skills. Among them were pilots, engineers, hackers, and combat specialists. They knew the mission was dangerous, possibly fatal, but none hesitated to join. The infiltration began under the cover of darkness. The team used stolen alien cloaking devices to approach the central command ship undetected. These devices, reverse-engineered from captured tech, masked their presence from enemy sensors. As they neared the massive vessel, its sheer size left them awestruck. The ship loomed like a mountain in space, bristling with turrets and glowing with eerie blue lights. It was a fortress designed to withstand anything, or so the aliens thought. Once aboard, the team split into smaller groups to carry out their objectives. Hackers worked to bypass security systems while engineers planted explosives at key points throughout the ship. Combat specialists provided cover, engaging alien guards in fierce skirmishes. The corridors of the ship were labyrinthine, filled with strange machinery and alien symbols that pulsed faintly with energy. Every step brought new dangers, from automated defense drones to traps triggered by unauthorized movement. In one harrowing encounter, the team stumbled upon a chamber filled with horrifying experiments. Rows of tanks contained grotesque hybrids, part human, part alien, created through twisted genetic engineering. Logs revealed plans to replace Earth's population with these abominations, erasing humanity entirely. The sight filled the team with rage, strengthening their resolve to succeed. As they reached the heart of the ship, the core reactor powering the entire vessel, they encountered heavy resistance. Alien soldiers swarmed the area, determined to protect their most vital asset. A brutal firefight ensued, forcing the team to fight for every inch of ground. Casualties mounted, but they pressed on, driven by the knowledge that failure meant certain doom for Earth. Finally, after what felt like hours, the explosives were in place. The team initiated a countdown and prepared to evacuate. But as they made their way back toward the extraction point, disaster struck. An alien patrol ambushed them, cutting off their escape route. Outnumbered and outgunned, the team fought valiantly, buying time for the others to reach safety. Marcus stayed behind, holding off waves of enemies until the last possible moment. Just as the countdown reached 0, he activated his own EMP device, disabling nearby alien weapons and creating a window for the remaining members to escape. The explosion rocked the central command ship, sending shockwaves through the alien fleet. Dozens of vessels connected to the shared energy grid collapsed like dominoes, their systems overloaded by the sudden loss of power. Debris rained down upon Earth, but the victory was undeniable. The invaders, realizing their advantage had been shattered, retreated in disarray. Their once unstoppable armada was now in ruins. Back on Earth, celebrations erupted spontaneously. People poured into the streets, cheering and embracing one another. Fireworks lit up the night sky, defying the darkness that had loomed over them for so long. Though the war wasn't over, humanity had won a critical battle, one that proved they could stand toe-to-toe with their oppressors. For Marcus Kane, however, the victory was bittersweet. He hadn't made it out alive. His sacrifice became legend, inspiring future generations to remember the man who gave everything to save his species. Statues were erected in his honor, songs were written about his bravery, and stories of his final stand were passed down through the ages. Yet even as humanity mourned its losses, it looked toward the future with cautious optimism. The invaders had been pushed back, but they weren't gone. Somewhere in the vastness of space they regrouped, plotting their next move. Humanity knew the fight wasn't over. It never truly was. But for the first time in months, they allowed themselves to believe that survival wasn't just a dream. It was a possibility worth fighting for. And so, as dawn broke over a battered but unbroken world, humanity took its first steps toward rebuilding. Cities rose from the ashes, alliances formed between nations, and lessons learned from the invasion shaped a brighter future. The turning point had come not because of superior weapons or numbers, but because of something far greater: the indomitable spirit of humanity. In the aftermath of the Central Command ship's destruction, Earth stood on the brink of a new chapter. The alien fleet had retreated, their once mighty armada reduced to scattered remnants fleeing into the depths of space. For humanity, it was a moment of triumph, a hard-fought victory against an enemy that had seemed invincible. But as the dust settled and the smoke cleared, a new reality began to emerge. The scars left by the invasion were deep, both physically and emotionally. Cities lay in ruins, ecosystems were devastated, and billions mourned loved ones lost in the conflict. Rebuilding would take decades, perhaps centuries. Yet amidst the devastation, there was hope, a fragile but resilient flame that refused to be extinguished. Word of Earth's resistance spread quickly throughout the galaxy. Other civilizations, many of whom had lived under the shadow of the alien coalition for generations, watched in awe as humanity defied overwhelming odds. Messages of admiration and gratitude poured in from distant planets, some offering aid, others simply expressing solidarity. Humanity wasn't just seen as survivors anymore, they were heroes. Their story became a beacon of inspiration, proof that even the smallest spark of courage could ignite change. But what shocked the galaxy most was not humanity's resilience. It was their compassion. Just months after the invaders' retreat, something unexpected happened. The aliens returned, not as conquerors but as refugees. Defeated and desperate, they sought sanctuary on the very planet they had tried to destroy. News of their arrival sent shockwaves through Earth's population. Many were outraged. How could humanity forgive those who had caused so much suffering? Others were wary, fearing another trap. But Marcus Kane's final words echoed in the minds of leaders and citizens alike. If we turn away those in need, we're no better than the monsters we defeated. After heated debates and soul-searching discussions, humanity made a decision that stunned the universe. They agreed to help the aliens. It wasn't an easy choice. Trust had been shattered, and wounds ran deep. But humanity recognized that revenge wouldn't heal the damage. It would only perpetuate the cycle of hatred. Instead, they chose empathy and cooperation, believing that redemption was possible, even for their former enemies. The process of integrating the alien refugees was fraught with challenges: language barriers, cultural differences, and lingering animosity created tension at every step. At first, the aliens were met with suspicion and hostility. Protests erupted in cities where refugee camps were established, with angry crowds chanting slogans like, "Not our problem," and "They don't belong here." Some governments hesitated to allocate resources to aid the aliens, arguing that humanity's own needs should come first. The road ahead seemed impossible, yet slowly but surely, bridges began to form. Scientists and linguists worked tirelessly to develop communication tools, enabling humans and aliens to understand one another. Cultural exchange programs were introduced, fostering mutual respect and understanding. Stories emerged of unlikely friendships, human children teaching alien children how to play games, farmers sharing crops with hungry families, doctors treating wounded aliens alongside human patients. These small acts of kindness gradually broke down walls of mistrust, paving the way for coexistence. One particularly moving story involved Elena Vasquez, the astrophysicist whose discoveries had played a crucial role in humanity's victory. After the war, she dedicated herself to helping the alien refugees adapt to life on Earth. She collaborated with a group of alien engineers to repair damaged infrastructure, combining human ingenuity with alien technology to rebuild faster and more efficiently. Through her work, Elena formed a close bond with an alien named Kyle, a former soldier who had grown disillusioned with his species' violent ways. Together, they developed sustainable energy solutions that benefited both humans and aliens, proving that collaboration could yield extraordinary results. As time passed, the presence of the aliens transformed Earth in profound ways. Their advanced knowledge contributed to groundbreaking advancements in medicine, energy, and space travel. Diseases that had plagued humanity for centuries were eradicated thanks to alien medical techniques. Renewable energy sources powered entire cities, reducing reliance on fossil fuels and reversing environmental damage. Space exploration entered a golden age, with joint missions venturing farther into the cosmos than ever before. But perhaps the greatest transformation occurred within humanity itself. The experience of working alongside their former enemies forced people to confront their own biases and prejudices. It taught them humility, patience, and the value of seeing others not as adversaries but as equals. Old rivalries between nations faded as humanity united under a shared purpose, building a better future for all. Borders became less rigid, cultures blended seamlessly, and a global identity began to take shape. The aliens, too, underwent significant changes. Living among humans challenged their deeply ingrained beliefs about dominance and conquest. They learned to appreciate qualities they had previously dismissed: creativity, compassion, and the ability to find beauty in imperfection. Many adopted human customs, participating in festivals, learning traditional dances, and even trying local cuisines. In return, they shared their own traditions, enriching Earth's cultural tapestry. Earth's transformation did not go unnoticed by the rest of the galaxy. Civilizations that had once viewed humanity as insignificant now regarded them with admiration and respect. Diplomatic envoys arrived regularly, seeking alliances and partnerships. Trade routes opened, bringing exotic goods and ideas from distant worlds. Earth became a hub of interstellar activity, a place where diverse species came together to collaborate, learn, and grow. Despite these achievements, however, humanity never forgot the lessons of the invasion. Memorials were erected in honor of those who had perished, ensuring that their sacrifices would never be forgotten. Schools incorporated the history of the alien war into their curricula, teaching future generations about the importance of unity, resilience, and compassion. Marcus Kane's legacy lived on, not just in statues and speeches, but in the values he had instilled in those who followed him. As years turned into decades, Earth flourished in ways no one could have predicted. Its people looked to the stars, with pride knowing they had earned their place among the cosmos. Yet they also looked inward, cherishing the bonds they had forged, with each other and with the aliens who had once been their enemies. Humanity had proven that strength wasn't measured by power or dominance, but by the capacity to rise above hatred and embrace understanding. And so, when visitors from across the galaxy asked why Earth had become the first destination they ran to in times of need, the answer was simple: because humanity had shown that even in the darkest moments light could prevail, because they had chosen to stand tall, not just for themselves, but for everyone. And because they had demonstrated time and again that no matter how broken the world might seem, healing was always possible. Earth had risen from the ashes, not as conquerors, but as healers. It had become a symbol of hope, a testament to the power of forgiveness and unity. And in doing so, it had secured its place not just as a planet, but as a home, for all who dared to dream of a brighter tomorrow. Years had passed since the alien invasion, and Earth was no longer recognizable as the planet it once was. The scars of war still lingered. Crumbling ruins stood as silent witnesses to the devastation, and forests slowly reclaimed what remained of abandoned cities. But amidst the remnants of destruction, something extraordinary had taken root, a new era of unity, innovation, and hope. Humanity had not only survived but thrived, transforming itself into a beacon of resilience and compassion that inspired civilizations across the galaxy. Historians from distant planets often ask the same question: why did humanity succeed where countless others had failed? Was it their technology, their numbers? Or was there something deeper, something intrinsic to the human spirit that allowed them to endure unimaginable odds? The answer, it turned out, was far simpler and far more profound. At its core, humanity's victory wasn't about weapons or strategies. It was about connection. Humans had always been storytellers, dreamers, creators. They found meaning in relationships, in shared experiences, and in the act of building something greater than themselves. These qualities, which seemed so ordinary, on the surface became humanity's greatest strengths when faced with extinction. Where other species might have succumbed to fear or despair, humans chose to stand together, united by a common purpose: survival, not just for themselves, but for future generations. Marcus Kane's legacy played a pivotal role in shaping this narrative. Though he had given his life during the climactic battle against the invaders, his words continued to resonate through time. "We are more than flesh and bone," he had said. "We are dreams, ideas, stories." Those simple sentences encapsulated everything that made humanity unique. Unlike machines or rigid hierarchies, humans were adaptable, creative, and driven by emotion. They fought not because they were programmed to, but because they cared for each other, for their planet, and ultimately, even for their enemies. The integration of alien refugees further highlighted this defining trait. At first, welcoming their former oppressors had seemed impossible. Hatred ran deep and trust was nearly non-existent. Yet humanity chose forgiveness over vengeance, seeing an opportunity to break the cycle of violence. By extending a hand to those who had wronged them, humans demonstrated a level of grace that few species could comprehend. This act of compassion didn't just heal old wounds, it forged new alliances, creating a foundation for peace that would last for centuries. The aliens too underwent a transformation. Living alongside humans taught them the value of empathy, creativity, and cooperation. They discovered joy in things they had never considered before: art, music, laughter. One particularly poignant example came from Kyle, the alien engineer, who had worked closely with Elena Vasquez. In his later years, Kyle wrote a memoir detailing his journey from soldier to peacemaker. "I came to Earth as an enemy," he wrote, "but I leave it as part of a family. For the first time in my life, I understand what it means to belong." Earth's recovery was nothing short of miraculous. Cities rebuilt themselves using a blend of human ingenuity and alien technology. Skyscrapers rose from ashes, powered by renewable energy sources that left no carbon footprint. Oceans teemed with life again, thanks to advanced filtration systems that cleaned polluted waters. Forests regrew at unprecedented rates, nurtured by bioengineered seeds designed to accelerate natural processes. Even the atmosphere began to heal, its skies clear and blue once more. Education became a cornerstone of this new world. Schools emphasized not just academics but values like kindness, collaboration, and critical thinking. Children learned about the invasion not as a tale of conquest, but as a lesson in resilience and unity. They studied Marcus Kane's speeches, analyzed Elena Vasquez's discoveries, and explored artworks created during the darkest days of the war. These lessons ensured that future generations would carry forward the spirit of hope and determination that had saved humanity. Space exploration flourished in this post-invasion era. Armed with knowledge gained from their former adversaries, humans ventured farther into the cosmos than ever before. Joint missions between Earth and alien civilizations led to the discovery of new worlds, some of which harbored intelligent life. Diplomatic relations expanded rapidly, fostering friendships and partnerships that transcended borders and species. Earth became known as a hub of interstellar diplomacy, a place where conflicts were resolved through dialogue rather than force. Yet, despite these achievements, humanity never lost sight of its roots. Festivals celebrating cultural diversity became global traditions, drawing participants from all corners of the planet, and eventually, the galaxy. Farmers continued to till the soil, ensuring food security for billions. Artists painted murals depicting scenes of triumph and healing, while musicians composed symphonies that echoed humanity's journey from darkness to light. Even in this age of progress, the simple joys of everyday life remained cherished. As Earth entered its second century after the invasion, its people reflected on how far they had come. From the brink of annihilation to becoming leaders in interstellar society, humanity had proven that strength wasn't measured by power or dominance, but by the ability to adapt, innovate, and care. They had shown that even the smallest acts of kindness could ripple outward, touching lives across galaxies. And so, when historians compiled their accounts of Earth's rise, they concluded with a single sentence: humanity endured because it refused to let fear define it. It was a truth that resonated deeply, not just with humans, but with every species fortunate enough to witness their story. In the end, humanity wasn't remembered as conquerors or victims. They were remembered as survivors who chose to rise together. And in doing so, they reminded the universe of one timeless truth: no matter how dark the night, dawn always follows.